if we don't teach kids and adults how to critically analyze the results coming out of Gen AI, we will start to blindly trust what's being generated. And that's dangerous.
Right. And I would even say to critically think about what they're asking AI to do. It starts there.
Wow.
So it's not just the results,
Interesting.
but what do we ask it to do in the first place? And that's actually where I got some of my biggest surprises in the semester. So,
All right, but before we get into the surprises and things, let's talk a little bit about what was it like um, when you taught critical thinking before, without Gen AI. What was your position? What was your main paradigm? Your main focus, I guess, is the right word I'm looking for.
well, especially because I tend to teach, most of my classes are the very beginning classes. So we do focus on process. How do we get
Okay.
there? What are the things leading up to it? Some fundamental writing skills, but the main part of the grade came from the outcome or the final product because that's where you could showcase what you had done. This
Right.
semester, my focus has been, and the grading was more heavily on process than the outcome because that's where we need to be concerned.
Which is really interesting that you because how else do you grade? You- I mean, it's an English class, right? Ultimately,
Right,
or
gone are the
writing class.
days. I mean, I think it would be doing the students a huge disservice to say your grade is primarily, these 3 essays, the finished essays. I'm not doing that at all anymore. I'm not doing that at all. I shouldn't say at all. I mean, it's a huge part of their grade, but the process leading up to it is I know basically what they're going to turn in before the final product comes in because I have to check it at every step and we have to integrate AI and we have to talk about how to do, good research and all that stuff, really research heavy. Because what can you believe? What can't you believe? What are good sources? How do you verify your information? So for me, it's always been about the teaching the process, but as far as the grading goes, I'm not doing it on final outcome anymore as
That
much.
are you alone in that, Laura, at the school that you
Well,
teach
this was
at?
one of the surprising and discouraging things is I thought every teacher would have to embrace this somehow, and I'm not criticizing anybody else because this is a new thing, but I was surprised how many instructors just said don't use AI. How many instructors are relying on, if they even know about them, on the AI detection tools? We can talk about that
Uh-huh.
later, but that makes me nervous. If anybody's handing out a 0 just because a detector says it was AI generated, that's a disservice to the students. And there was a handful of instructors that I know about that kind of even refused to engage in the conversation. One even said it was against their principles, and I don't even know what that means. But yeah, I don't even know what that means, and I didn't get into it. But there's a resistance, and I think because we don't necessarily know what to do with this, or we just say, oh, it's just like cheating, it's like any other kind of plagiarism, and it's not. So,
Yeah, this is interesting because it reminds me a lot of the internet when it first became widely available for kids in school, and teachers were coming out and saying, "You cannot, you cannot use the internet to do your searching. You
right.
cannot do your research on the internet." I'm like, can you imagine not doing research on the internet today?
No.
No. So I think Laura, I think you're at the forefront. I think you're one of the instructors out there, and I thought there would be more. I've talked to my kids that are in college, or Madeline, and some of her friends, and I've been shocked at how many instructors are ignoring it.
And here's the problem. One of the main problems that I came out with after the semester that I hadn't even considered when I talked to you before I started teaching this semester is we're going to fail the students when there's a huge amount of inconsistency between classes.